Henning Bech, welcome. I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you very much, Tara. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure to be here.
So, Henning Bech is a executive leadership and personal development coach, but really his biggest passion is helping people redefine and recharge their careers and their leadership styles. And he and I met through various coaching training, and we thought it'd be super cool to sit down and talk about his approach to how he coaches folks through their career changes and what they're looking for and what they want. Because I find it interesting. That's not an area that I specialize in as a team transformation specialist. So I thought it'd be cool to just be able to share what his take is and his philosophy on it, what he's noticing for trends or challenges his clients are facing. And then that way, if it helps someone else, then amazing. So yeah. So Henny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How'd you get into
Yeah,
coaching?
absolutely. Yeah, that's actually an interesting story. But first of all, I'm closing in on 57. I live with my wife and two daughters in Sweden. I'm actually from Denmark, so I have Nordic roots, and I've been working many different jobs over the years, and I landed in the IT industry. And as that is very much about KPIs and SLAs and all these things, and needing to improve performance all the time. I came across a book about coaching,
Hmm.
and so I didn't take any specialized training at first. I just read this book where the basic message was that you could improve performance, and it's still around. It's coaching for performance.
Oh, I was just gonna
So
ask you, what was the book?
yeah, it's coaching for performance, and I can pull it down the shelf and show it at the end. But it was very interesting that going from solving people's problems to actually empowering them. So when I became a leader at IBM, then I started using coaching techniques with my team, and after a period of time, I started to become more brave and spread it out to peers and so on. And over the years, it went up the hierarchy and down the hierarchy and everything to the sides, and I just found it really inspiring that changing my own mindset from having to fix everything to actually allowing the specialists, those that were experts in whatever they were doing,
Mhm.
feel empowered to bring forward the right things, which helped me in my role as a leader, that I didn't feel that I had to become a specialist on everything. And
Mhm.
actually, I learned that becoming a specialist as a leader often gets you in the way of having things done the right way. So, so So that's a good one. And over time, the passion just grew, and then a year ago, I talked to my boss and said, "Well, I think I need to pursue this full time." So now, a year down the road, having my own company, all alone by myself, no employees, but working with people to bring out their best and help. The focus is mostly helping people turn their career upside down and find out what is it really they want to do instead of just pursuing a specific job.
Mhm. Mhm. It's interesting. I was just spent last week. I had a vacation. I was camping with extended family. It's part of that extended family, pardon me, are two teenage girls, and one of them I was telling her about. Pardon me. I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to cough. Mm. So one of the teenage girls, I was advising her. I'm like, when you're trying to find your career, and I said, there's a career and then there's a job, the job job, right? The one that pays the bills. But then a career is something that is yours. Like you get to own it, right? Because it's about your training and development and skills and experience and how you put that to use, right? And we ended up in an interesting conversation around, to me, a job is if you're selling your time. It's almost like you're commoditizing your time. And I'm like, but that's not your worth. Time isn't valuable. Like that's not your where you're bringing value to what you're doing, right? And I said, so think of careers that you're not commoditizing your time, you're commoditizing your skills, experience, and education, right? So she's going into grade 10. So what is she, 15? So if I'm hoping I planted a seed at least. Maybe not necessarily a deep
That's actually
understanding.
a good thing to start early, changing that mindset. Because I mean, I grew up with a view that you have to do the things that you are employed to do,
Yeah.
and the price for doing that, however much work, is that you get this monthly salary, and that's actually not fair. Not. I don't believe in the general trends that you can become rich by doing nothing. That's simply not the reality. But it doesn't mean that it's like buying a liter of milk. It has a price, because that's the wrong perspective on what qualities you hold. Because it might be that to you that you feel like this is worth this much, but in reality you don't know
Yeah.
how much it's worth to those that want to utilize it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you start putting it in perspective that, okay, I need to have this much money for this many hours, then you might miss a train, and end up in the hamster wheel where everything is not fun.
No. The other thing is, I see this too, is like, well, you go to school, go get a good job that pays you a decent living, has good benefits, and a good retirement plan, right? Like it was the emphasis on security and having that reliable income. And I don't know, it feels like a fallacy to me. I don't think there's such a thing as security and reliability. So the only thing you can really rely on is yourself and your own wits and skills and abilities and drive. So I don't know.
Especially in this time that we have now. I mean, 20 years ago, the global economy was way less, and information traveled very slow,
Yeah.
and we were all depending on paper, newspapers, and so on. But now you can sit anywhere in the world and create news somewhere else in the world within a second. And
Hmm.
and so you can't play by the old game rules anymore. You simply have to make sure that you don't end up playing by that. That's my focus when I talk to clients, to
Yeah, keep going.
to dig into what is it you really, if you could choose yourself, what would be components of your job, and those, as you distincted between job and career, those should preferably match into what you want to spend your
Mm,
complete professional life on, because we can have many jobs, and they can all contribute to having a career development that might take walkabouts, and they can also be very stringent towards something that you just are passionate about, and then you follow it like pearls on a string. But most people actually end up doing many different things before they land in a position where they feel, wow, now I'm really doing what I want to do, and not just earning a paycheck.
hmm. Yeah, it's always like, especially if you end up having conversations, coaching younger people, like high schoolers or even early 20s. And I'm like, it feels super definitive. Like it's a big commitment, choosing a major, choosing a profession or whatever, and think you're going to go down this path. And I said, it is a path that will lead you somewhere. And I said, like those first few jobs aren't going to be your jobs forever. Like you just think of your, if you can think of your career as chapters in a book, but those chapters later on, they just haven't been written yet. And you don't know what they're going to be because you like what you do and how you approach what you do will help dictate where you go. Right. So if you can choose something that, and be open to that ebb and flow and change and the evolution of your career, right? Because everybody could take like somebody could be, say they take nursing. Well, someone could, work in a hospital, someone could work in a clinic, and then maybe they go and work their way up into management. Maybe they go into like you just don't know where that foundation, that first step takes you. But I can understand, and I remember that feeling like, oh, you have to pick what you want to study, and it feels like this huge monumental decision because you think you're gonna that's what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. Well, you're not gonna do that for the rest of your life. Nobody does. Pretty rare. Shouldn't say nobody.
I think it's generally a thing that as society we have been wanting to generalize path because it's much easier to control or support and all these things than people running in different directions and wanting something new all the time.
Well, the system
But
was set up to reward people who stayed on a linear path.
yeah,
Right? Like if you change jobs or change descriptions or change companies, back when I was coming up, it was considering like a hiring red flag. Whereas now I'm talking to senior leaders in companies and they're dealing with the younger generation. That's their normal, right? So yeah, it's shifted. It's been a big shift.
this it has shifted and say, funny enough, even the most progressive companies have a hard time dealing with that the expectations and requirements from younger employees are different from what they have built their structure for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I think it's important that when you start to sculpt your career and decide what you want to do, you need to become aware of what do you want from a given job and what is it feeding into your career perspective. Because, I mean, I have tried different stuff. I started within taxes, uh, not my favorite subject. See, I've been a soldier. I've worked IT, different types of roles within IT, but all have somehow contributed. Not that I was crisp and clear. Let
No.
me be clear about that. I wasn't crisp and clear on where is this supposed to end, and I'm still not crisp and clear. But I do know what I want to focus my energy on, and that is helping people. And
Mm-hmm.
then all the things I've had experience with contributes to my ability. And that's a part that I think we are missing on helping both established grown-ups and young people actually get to terms with that, as you said, it's not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And you set down a route and then you find out at some point it's not entirely the route I want. Okay, let's make adjustments. I mean, in this day and age, it's very modern to talk about being agile and so on. And that's very important part is realizing what's not working and then redo it. So have faster iterations, not
Yes.
necessarily have to be in a job 10 years before you realize it's not for me. Because who are you working for?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how
It,
does
it, it
someone
shouldn't be the man. It should be you, right?
yeah, yes. Yes. I remember, oh, side story, and then I have a question for you. When I was in the corporate game and you one of the things you were encouraged to do was create a 5-year career plan. And boy, did I buck against that. And I'm like, nope, nope. 5 years is an eternity, right? Especially early in your career. I said, I'll give you a 2 or 3 year intention, ideas. I'm not giving you a 5-year plan. That's crazy. That for me, that was way too far out there. Like, like if I'm getting into year 4 or 5 from now, I'll be like, I kind of maybe like this kind of work. And I remember I worked for one company. They wanted to see an actual progression 5-year plan of job titles that you were targeting. And I'm like, you're kidding, right? Right. Especially I was good at multiple things, right? Like case in point, I'm an engineer, but now I do personal coaching and team effectiveness, right? But I've also designed pipeline systems and, done compressor sizing and like I can do lots of different things. So for them to go, what's your 5-year plan? And please make it linear. And I'd be like, no, that hurts my head. I can't do that.
That,
So
that's to a detail that is too much. I do think it's a good challenge to be met with. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what's your road there? Because if you work dealing with 2 years, most things you want to learn,
yeah,
it will probably take you a year to learn what you need. Then you need a year to utilize it
yeah.
before you can see if it's something. So taking the 5 year perspective is good. But if you want to have job roles, and that's basically my opposing topic in all this with career is don't plan your career after achieving specific job roles. Plan your career
Mm,
after what you want to spend your time on, what
mm,
kind of tasks you want to do, works, what skills do you want to use, all these things. And then when you have that view, you can say, what kind of jobs can challenge me this where I want to grow. And then you will have a better chance both of actually landing those jobs because you are much more confident on what will it give you and what can you give to it. So that's one of the things that I always highlight with my clients is make sure you understand what it is you want to use a job for. And it's not in a negative way, but we shouldn't do anything job wise that doesn't bring us something more than just a paycheck. The paycheck is absolutely perfect. I
yeah,
love paychecks,
yeah.
but but
Food
uh,
is good.
but
Shelter's good,
food
right?
is good, yeah,
Yeah,
and roof over the head and all that. But if you have no other ambition than getting the paycheck, you might miss out on a fun ride.
yeah. It
I
reminds
do
me of,
understand we can all be in situations where money is the
oh, sure.
motivation for various reasons, but the career should not be just about the money.
Yeah.
But then, because it most likely won't happen then. You need something to fuel taking different jobs and building on your knowledge, learning stuff and all this. And if it's just getting a paycheck, then there's easier ways.
hmm It reminds me of Daniel Pink's work, and I don't remember the exact quote, but basically that people's motivation comes from a sense of autonomy and mastery. So if you're leading people, those are the two factors that you want to look for. Do they have autonomy? Are they gaining mastery? And that mastery is going to be in whatever they choose, right? Like it could be in, somebody wants to be like the world's best, compression engineer. Amazing. Let's do it, right? Let's give you the experience and courses and let's make set you free to go become a master at that. It also reminds me of work that Marcus Buckingham has done in his research that showed I do have the book over there. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But it's that you only need people talk about your job and there's parts you love and parts you hate. And people think if I was to ask you, what percentage of your job duties in typical day do you think you need to love to feel, oh, I really, that you love your job and you love your career? What do you think that percentage would be? right? And I've asked this of people and they go, oh, like 50%, 70%. And I'm like, no, studies are showing 20%. So it's that golden thread throughout your day, throughout your week, that, if you bring intention to, like you said, like the experiences want to have, the skills you're trying to build, right? Those kind of things. If that's your golden thread, your 20%, then to me, your task is to make sure you have that in there and weave it in.
Mhm. We need to then spice that up with the feeling of purpose.
Yes. Yes. That was the other part of Daniel
Because
Pink's. You're
yeah,
right. He had the three: motivation, what comes from autonomy, mastery, and purpose, sense of purpose. You're right.
because that what I've seen working with clients is that when they feel the most lost is actually because they no longer can see what the purpose of doing all this for.
Mhm.
The paycheck might be good, and the opportunities to continue down that job role path that they are currently on might
Mhm.
be good, but they can't see their own purpose in it, and then it becomes just the hamster wheel with a paycheck.
Mhm.
So then you have to stop and utilize someone around you. I mean, many people start with talking to a friend or to their spouse or something just to get perspective. And if that doesn't bring you forward, then bring in a coach, right?
Mhm.
And and
I was just
and
gonna
try
ask you,
to
like,
get.
how does someone know that they could use like a coach to help recharge their career or give it more purpose again? How would someone know? Like, what would they be feeling or experiencing?
I would say, looking at all the years that I've been coaching, generally uh, people start feeling unfulfilled and they can't pinpoint what would be the right thing
Mhm.
for them. So, should I refocus in my current job? Should I look for something else? Should I shift to another company, or what is it? When the options are so many that you don't know what it is that will make you happier, wrong word, but more positive, more happy to do work, then you need someone that helps you find new perspective. And it absolutely is not because I just want to sell hours or
No.
help, but you need someone that is not bound by your own limitations. So they're not in your situation. So it can easily be a spouse or a friend that can help you on the way.
Mhm.
Uh, if you then feel that it's not enough, and that will probably be you feel that you saw a light. Oh yeah, I need to do something about it, but you still can't decide. That's where I personally every time choose to use a coach.
Mhm. So, what are some of the things that you do with your clients to help them find that career passion again?
So, first of all, we I need to find out what is it they want to achieve, I see three groups of clients. One group is they want to achieve a specific job role. This is I want to be the director of this. So okay, great. That's a difficult situation because you have to
Mhm.
adapt yourself to something specific. So that's one group. The other group is uh, I want to do something else. I don't
Okay.
know what it is.
Okay.
And then the third is more like I lost my purpose
Mm.
and I don't know what my new purpose should be. And that's three different approaches. So if you lost your purpose, then first looking into what is it that will satisfy me, fulfill me during the day. So last time I had a sense of purpose, what did I do?
Mhm.
And then you might realize, well, now today, because of this, after the pandemic, people to some extent sit at home, but before they met at the coffee machine and in the
Mm,
canteen and stuff. So feeling part of something that is three-dimensional instead of just these monitors that we are looking on, right? That can be something. It could also be that because that's a component that goes for all of them. We change. So I mean, when we talk to our kids, we might say stuff like, "Well, that will change when you grow up," or
oh,
something
yes.
very boring that old people say, right? And but reality is, for every day we get new experiences, new insights about other people, about ourselves, and then we change. So it's like going back to the example you gave earlier, that if we're supposed to work with the same for our entire life, it's like saying you always have to dress in black,
Yeah.
and at some point something happens. For example, when I got my first daughter, second as well for that matter, the last thing in the world I thought about was wearing black. I wanted colorful, and I was happy and everything, and that changed me. That affected me. So we need to find out what is it that triggers us today, not like it used to be, but today,
Mm-hmm.
because a month ago we were different.
Mm-hmm.
We might not see the difference because we see ourselves every day and we see our spouses, our kids. So we might not experience the difference. But someone that haven't seen us in a while will say, "Whoa, what happened? I don't recall you like that."
Yeah.
No, but like a gazillion things happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we are chasing. If we want to achieve something specific, we're chasing a moving target. So what I do with all three groups of people is I try to turn it around and say, okay, so what are the components that will be positive experiences for you? Not say that they are easy,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's fun to do a puzzle that challenges us when it triggers some of the things that we want to be good at.
What if this is a scenario, like there's things that you're passionate about, but they're just not part of your job. They're not part of your career. And if you've gone to your bosses or the upper management, say, I would like to do more of this kind of stuff, and they don't support you in that.
That happens
Mm-hmm.
frequently. And so what I've always done as a leader is I've said when you educate yourself, then designate 25% of your education time on something that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to fit into your job role. And there will probably be employers that won't be positive towards what I'm saying now,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not a guarantee that
Mm-hmm.
you will always be a match for a current employer, and vice versa. The
Yeah,
employer might
absolutely.
not
Yeah.
think that you are a match because their business changed.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't set out anymore into, okay, I learned this, I became an engineer, I can do these things, and then that's what I'm doing. Because at some point, customers are not asking for that anymore. I mean, nobody is buying typewriters anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Except for me.
It's yeah, but
I do have a
I,
typewriter over
I
there.
I can also find one somewhere in the basement, I'm sure, right? But
It's
but
over
uh,
there.
but most people will go with the new trends, and so things change, and we
Mm-hmm.
change with the times. So we cannot just look at how we used to do stuff, and that
Mm-hmm.
is why having a career is work in progress. You can't make a plan, even if you could map 5 years, you can't make a plan and just think you can execute it. You need to stop from time to time and say, okay. And when people
Mm-hmm.
get started and get a plan, I say, well, look at it every month. Once you get into, you say, okay, now I'm in a good streak here. I can see for the next 6 months what I have in my plan is fitting. Okay, then maybe you shift to I I check back in 3 months just to make sure, and
Yeah.
then the big things you consult at least once a year. But all these small things that you can navigate in your daily work, whether it's through education or shadowing someone just to pick up in new learnings, take them frequently, and then the big plan needs a standard revision sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Because you need to feel in your gut if you're still headed in the right direction. Are the job roles you wanted to fulfill your plan, are they still relevant?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe something changed. Then retune, refocus, and find out what is it that you need now. Because if the soon as you start to look at something finite, then my claim is you start to kill your career.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that you can't have the same type of job for a very long time. It just means that if you think it's the end station, it will become the end station.
Yeah.
And most likely you will lose your purpose.
I have a theory. Now, when I think, like, if I'm thinking of a mid-career person, here's my theory. I call it the badge of busyness. Like we wear this, oh, I'm so busy, this badge of honor. And I know I've talked to people and who are in that flux point in their career, like, well, I'm busy and I'm working but then I got to go home and I got to deal with the house and my spouse and the kids and activities and but they could feel that itch that something's not quite right, right? But they're so busy. Like I'm like, you're gonna turn around and 10 years will have gone by. So I don't know if it, me being in Canada and North America, if that's a different life than what you see in Europe.
But I think it's for all aspects of life. Right?
Mm,
As soon as you get into the daily routine, a lot of the brain goes on autopilot,
yep.
and then suddenly time flies. I mean, I cannot imagine my oldest daughter is 14 now. I don't know. I don't really know. I know I've been a part of my kids' lives very much, but I still can't really comprehend that 14 years has passed. And it's because we just go into there are things you need to do
Hmm.
work-wise, family-wise, interest-wise, maybe even taking care of yourself-wise, and
Yes.
and 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 so on. And
Yep.
and it just blurs because we are getting so good at making things fit in where they can, and then suddenly a year more passed. And
Hmm.
I think for all perspectives of life, we need to stop sometimes.
I was gonna say that's the only thing when I've talked to people, I'm like, well, when was the last time you just hit pause and took an hour or two and just kind of sat down and like, what's working, what's not working, what do I want to keep doing? What do I ultimately want? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want my relationships to feel like? How do I want people to experience me going forward? Because it's, if you're not showing up the way you want people to experience you, I think that some part of you somewhere, it's just going to eat at you, right? You wake up 10 years later
And
and I
I,
just
I would
wonder how,
say that, yeah, go on.
I wonder how much that would play into those career points.
It,
It's a theory.
it all fits together, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can't find the time to reflect over general stuff, you will definitely not find the time to reflect over your career/job situation till you're in a situation where someone else did something. It might not mean that you lost your job, but you lost your purpose, you lost the sense of what direction am I actually going. Maybe even the company lost. Some companies, once they have a major leadership
Hmm.
rotation, then the vision sometimes blurs for a period of time until everybody lands in the new scenario.
Hmm.
And so you can help yourself. We can all do that by having time. I have time every week,
Mm.
preferably every day, but at least if I have too many other things, and I know I have my book time slot every Friday morning when I just sit with my coffee and look at what happens the past week,
Mm. Yes.
and and uh, and I like to focus on the good stuff, but I'm not forgetting what I learned about what I didn't do, because some of what we don't do are still important.
Mm. Yes.
But we can have so many things on the plate that at some point, if we keep on triaging our time, then something will just flip over the desk side, right?
Yes.
Because it just goes down a long list. So uh, it all plays into each other. And if you start prioritizing, saying, okay, these things I simply cannot do because it will impact what else I can do, then you make a decision. Okay, I'm no longer pursuing this. I'm no longer doing that. For this part, if I need time to grow myself so I can still be attractive to my employer, whether it's in this job or another job, then I need to tell my boss that I need some help getting some work moved somewhere else. Or we agree that it's no longer relevant, and then
Hmm.
just go down in the
Yeah.
archive. Yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
because it's a conscious decision that you want control, but it's not
Mm.
always easy to make that decision.
I think there what jumps for me is when you use the word control. And I'm like, only you can control your career and the path and what you take. But in a lot of ways, you don't have control, right? Like you could have a dream job over there, but if there's no openings or you've applied and you don't get it, right? You don't have control over that kind of stuff. So it's recognizing what do I have control over and what is, I put my best efforts in, but in some ways, I just have to trust the system, trust the universe. Like I don't have that because you can't control everything, right? So,
But it's actually, and of course, right in this moment, I forgot the name, but uh, I'll find it so we can post it in. But so just to use an example, if I ask you about can we do, and you say no, it doesn't
mhm,
mean that I can't do it. It just means I can't do it with you.
mm,
And where we are a bit used to in corporate world or larger businesses is that if the manager, whatever level, says no, it means you can't do it. But we shouldn't think like that. But the consequence could be that you get to a point where you say, okay, apparently I can't do it with this company. So is it important to me, or is it on my bucket list for someday?
yeah.
Right. And then if it's really, really important, then you have to reconsider if you're on the right track on your career,
Hmm.
and if you are then getting the right things from the current job, if you are told that you cannot do the growth that you were looking to do.
Hmm. You you shared with me briefly your career model, that inverted pyramid, and then you have the layers in it. And I know I don't want to put you describe it for me because I thought that was genius.
So, well, basically, it's normally a pyramid is when people think about their career. then they're actually thinking about, I want to achieve a specific job.
Right. So that
Right?
specific job is the tip of the pyramid. And
Yeah.
then the bottom is, you know, education,
Oh,
experience, like, and they build up to get to
yeah.
that. And
Yes.
that's typical.
And yeah, that's typical. And what I want people to do, and that I help my clients with, that we turn it around. So we start from the bottom, and even though it looks slim and small, then it's all the important components
Mm-hmm.
of what is it. I have all these skills. Let's say, just to take something easy, I have 100 skills. There's only 60 of them that I want to use. Okay, list the 60 you want to use and the 40 you don't want to use. And then there might be some of the 40 that you might use if you get something in return. For example, my favorite is not being a hardcore seller, but if I get a chance to grow on some other area, I might have hardcore selling as part of my job. So finding out what are the different components that you want and don't want, and which of those are non-negotiable, negotiable for a price, or I will use them as add-ons. So I might fit in this part of whatever the job they want to offer me. And I can see that the company needs something else. And I just want to get a foot in the door. Then I can say, well, I know the job role is like that, but you have needs. So if we can find a balance so I don't work 60 hours a week, then I can contribute for a period of time with this until we have found the right candidate for that part.
Mm-hmm. So
So,
that's
and
the next, that's the first layer above
yeah,
the, is
yeah,
the skills
yeah.
that you want to
So
build.
you have your skills, and you have your personal strengths, your values. All these things are components that are important when you look at what should I spend my professional life on. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you work up through and get all these things graded in, whether they are non-negotiable and so on, then you get to the what is now a top of the period where you have much more opportunity. Because if you
Mm.
prepare you for one job and you don't get it, mostly you have to look for exactly the same in another company and another company and another company. But if you actually find out that you have much more opportunity,
Mm.
then it will be easier to find something that can contribute to the growth that you're looking for to progress your career.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love it. I love it.
So,
So,
so that's what I'm trying to shift people's focus on. Don't look at the one thing, look at all the opportunities, because we also know when employers make an effort to get a person, they have a long list of requirements.
yeah.
And most of them are just hoping to get 50, max 60% of it.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you want to land a specific job opportunity, it's much better if you are clear on how much can I do? How much do I want to do? And so when you go in, you might end up not getting the job. But if you can have a dialogue where it's not only about saying, I can do all these things, but saying, well, tell me about what you want from all these things, all these requirements. And then say, well, I know I'm really good at these things. This is not my favorite, but I'm actually good at them. So, and these, I can't help you there, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good learner. So if it's crucial, then I'm sure that I can pick that up and then deliver the value on the other areas
Mm-hmm.
till I'm caught up on this part I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience is that many hiring managers will say, well, that's much better than having someone coming and claiming they know all of it, because most likely they don't.
No. Yeah. It reminds me of that whole, like, if the job description, if they post something, there, yeah, this giant list of skills and abilities and qualities that they want out of a candidate, and they're hoping to get 50%. And it's interesting because women still tend to only apply on jobs where they can check the box on like 90% of the things that are listed. Whereas men, oh, I've got 20% of them. I'll apply anyway, right? And so just kind of speaks to that difference. So if there's women watching this, it's just proof and point, right? Apply, right? If it's something that you're shooting for and you can check the box on half of it, but you can demonstrate, an eagerness to learn,
Well, it's like the worst thing that can happen is they say no.
right?
They're not
You
going
don't,
to shoot you. They're not going to take your money. They're not going to
yeah,
anything.
there's no
Worst
walk of
case, they say
shame,
no.
right? Yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah.
So so we are most of the time we are our own worst enemy, whether
Mm,
it's man or a woman, in thinking that the consequences of not getting a job,
mm,
it can be important, but it's not. And I know that people are sometimes in positions where they lost a job and they know they have a certain period of time before they really need money again.
mm-hmm,
And that, of course, ups the pressure. But it's still not changing the fact that you will not die from a no. You can be disappointed. You can feel that they didn't get all the value you could add. But then that's an opportunity to go back and say, okay, can I convey my value in a different way
mm-hmm,
if that's the kind of job role I want right now?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, like if a no is, I mean, it's a hit to the ego, right? You've been rejected in a way, and you're a human being. Nobody wants to be rejected, right? But I think the trick is to not have that that microsecond of a rejection become a tick against or hit against your self-worth, right? And I've seen that happen, right? So I think that's I mean, to recognize that, yeah, I'm a human being. I was just rejected. It doesn't reflect my skills, abilities, and my potential and all the things that I have to offer, right?
And it's like before. Just because you say no doesn't mean I can't do it. Just means I can't do it with you.
Yeah. I've learned, I don't know if you've learned this lesson, running your own business, you get a lot of no's. And yeah, it's not I'm like, oh, cool. So I look at a no as either, okay, it's no, not now, or it's no, we're not a good match. You're not my people. I'm not your people, right? And that's fine, right? That's absolutely fine.
I think that's maybe a thing that we as parents need to emphasize with our kids, that because today's world is very much about being appreciated and confirmed because you
Mm,
get likes and all these things, and that ups and downs, that's a kind of worm of itself, right? But
yeah.
I think we have an important role that as parents to help children not to see no's in career and work as the big disaster. As you said, you might bruise your ego, yes, and you might think that you are better than the other person that got the job, but it won't change anything. It
Hmm.
just means you have to regroup and refocus, and then again look at, did I really share what I'm looking for with this job, what I can help with, what I would like to get out of it besides the paycheck? Because sometimes that can be the inhibitor as well. We get so controlled in wanting to land job that we don't talk about the things that we think the employer don't want to know. But
Yeah.
today, with a global world, no employer, I think, I don't have any statistics to back it, but no employer would say no to someone that had a hidden gem of skills, interest, or knowledge that might be useful to them later.
Yep. Yep.
So if you come and say, I can do all these things that you are looking for, and but I'm actually much better at all these things,
Mm-hmm.
they won't say, oh, then you don't get it.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
in the days, you will probably be met, and of course, we still see that sometimes that some people are told they're overqualified.
Yeah.
But luckily, that type of leaders are reducing because
Yeah.
it's we can't foresee what the business needs in 5 years because that depends on what the customers need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it might be that it's just luck in disguise that we got someone that had other interests that we thought would never be part of the business idea. And suddenly the clients want that flavor.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
someone
Or
pops
something
up and say,
changes.
I know something.
Yeah. Or some I had this happen. Yeah, I worked for a big multinational company and I spotted that um when I didn't see evidence of a really good succession plan and I wasn't seeing evidence of support creating that cross-functional awareness and understanding. So I was in an engineering role and I went, hey, let's create a mentoring program, right? Where people can job shadow and people who are interested in, like, say, somebody who's in well services, but they're thinking they might want to transition over to safety. Well, what a great opportunity to create a formal program where we can cross pollinate a little bit. But then you also, HR or leadership, you now have a line of sight a little deeper on where everyone's interests lie, and where you're, those people that you want to, well, hey, let's help them with their career. Not everybody wants that. I'm going to recognize it. Some people work at big, I just want to come in, I want to do my job, and then go home. Like, nope, right? Cool, whatever works for you. So here's the good news. That company let me go, yeah, that's a really good idea. So we did the program, we piloted it, they adopted it. So, and that was me as an engineer, but I saw a need, right? I saw a gap that could be filled. Right. So
But it's
maybe that's
actually a
my
good point
enlightenment.
that you make around not everybody wants that.
Nope.
Because, of course, there are people that are not looking for a career. They just want a job
Good job.
that can bring a paycheck so when they're off duty, they can do what they're passionate about because
Yep.
it's completely different.
Yep.
And I mean, that is great
Mm-hmm.
if it's because you know that that's how you want it.
Yep.
What I've seen is unfortunately a lot of people that are brought in that situation where it becomes just a paycheck because they can't see other opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
either because they think they don't have other skills or they think I won't get the support by the company to make this shift. Well, if that's the case, then talk to someone, right?
Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask
And
you
if
this,
you, yeah,
like,
go
and
on.
I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. Um, if someone was watching this and they're feeling that those career blahs, those lack of fulfillment, they've lost their purpose, what would you give for their top three things someone could do today to see, how to find that spark again?
The first
Any
thing I
idea?
would do is take a quick look at what am I actually doing? What's the components of my work today? And then is there anything that fulfills you in that?
Okay, and then so if you list all the things you do, then highlight the ones that bring you joy, give you that sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then be honest with yourself, and because the next step is more difficult, but be honest with yourself about the things that doesn't fulfill you,
Mm,
that you would like to get rid of. And of course, it's not like a buffet where you can just pick and choose everything. But the difficult part is once you've done this, you need to talk to your boss or your hopefully your leader.
yeah.
But some has a boss, right? And
Yeah.
and uh, and then say, well, I'm doing all these things, and these things are really energizing me, and so on. Can I get more of those? I would love if I could be challenged more, and there might be stuff that are related that I would love to learn, talk about. Then have these things. I don't feel I'm growing from this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So are there others that could benefit from getting that part
Mm-hmm.
of the role? And then you could, of course, be unlucky that you have a leader that says, or a manager or a boss, what we
Yeah.
should call the person that says, well, this is the job. Okay. Then
Yeah.
you are in that situation in your head. You don't take that confrontation. You never make ultimatums. But in your head, you need to think, okay, maybe I can't do what I want to do with you or with this company or with this job type here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to consider what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or what I've seen very frequently is, well, I'm really happy that you're taking charge of your own development. So let's see if we can accommodate some of the stuff that you want to do. And most likely will be forward. I do still need you until I find a solution for these things
Yeah.
to continue doing it.
Yeah.
But then it's a different conversation because then you get a perspective that things can change.
Mm-hmm.
And then we shouldn't, of course, be lured into working 70 hours a week just to pursue that dream. There must be a time perspective if we have to work more than the contracted hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you also need to take care, make sure that you are more than existing when you are outside
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah.
But take the dialogue with your leader because any company, any leader should have your growth as primary focus because it's tough for a company to lose people. It's much better to change with people. So, and what started as your gold might become your trash, but it will be gold to someone else
Mm-hmm.
that wants that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So do not be afraid to talk about it. But if you feel you're afraid, then make a plan
How does a
because then
coach
the
help someone with all of this?
well, it's talking through, making sure that the client is crisp and clear on what is it I want and I don't want, and am I willing to be flexible on what components and so on, and then talking about okay, practicing how will you have the conversation. Because if you come in and say, I need to practice for, I have this meeting with my manager next week, and I want to bring up this. I can play any manager, for example.
Yeah.
Just tell me what is normally in meetings and so on, and I can be that person
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, or her for that matter.
Yeah.
And then challenge and raise the questions so you can prepare yourself. So it's not a surprise when you are meeting pushback on, because it mostly happens on areas you didn't expect pushback on.
Mm-hmm.
You thought these things were great, and then the things that you didn't want to do that was where you expected pushback. But maybe it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
That the manager just didn't get to say, I actually need you to move away from this area. And right now, I think you are doing better on this area that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So you
I
might get
had
a
that happen.
pushback you didn't expect. So
Yeah.
preparing that's something coach can help you. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you know what you want and how do you want to communicate it and how do you deal with getting surprised with the reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've also had clients that say, well, I went in, we prepped it and I went in and the manager was just, yeah, that's fantastic. And then I was sitting, just wants to get rid of me.
Oh no.
And that can be
Oh
that
no.
then you can actually stumble the last couple of meters, right? Because you get so caught up in, I think he wants to get rid of me. that
I'm
you
sorry, I'm
start saying
laughing.
the wrong things. Yeah,
Oh no.
but often, of course, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunately not common, especially in corporates, that people own their own career. It's
Mm.
normally a manager, a leader, what we call them, that says, well, this is the way. And if you then want something different, then we have needs, the company needs over here.
Yeah.
So if you can add these skills to your CV, then you can pursue that dream.
Mm-hmm. No, that's excellent. I think we'll probably wrap it up. We've been going pretty good. I didn't set a time or anything, but I think we're getting close to an hour. Um, any final thoughts on, what happens when you're in the career slump and how a coach can help?
Absolutely. So first thing is absolutely do not expect anyone but yourself to take action.
Mm.
So if you don't know how to take action, talk to someone. Start with someone that if you don't know any coaches, start with someone whose opinion you normally respect.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and it depends if how you feel yourself, sometimes that's actually your manager at work.
Yeah.
There are many really good managers that when you say, well, I feel I'm a bit lost here. I
Hmm.
can't find my purpose and I know all these things I'm good at, but I'm not feeling the spark anymore and I really want to contribute.
Yeah.
Then that's very often help. And else, a good friend, your spouse, or a coach.
Hmm.
And if you want to reinvent yourself, my experience is you're better off with someone that doesn't know you.
I was gonna say, like, one of the things we haven't talked about, by having a coach, like, yes, you can talk to your manager or a mentor at work or a coworker you're supposed to, or a good friend, but the nice thing about a coach is it's neutral territory, right? We don't work for the same organization. I have no skin in your game. Like, I have no, nothing ties to me in consequences to what you do or do not do. So I think that to me is one of the biggest. I said the one of the beauties of coaching for careers is that if you go outside of yours, it's neutral territory. It's Switzerland, right? And what is discussed or worked through in a coaching session is not connected to your organization in any way, shape, or form, right? Nobody's going to know
And
anything.
there is a ethics around coaching. So
Yep.
client coach confidentiality. So that makes it, I mean, sometimes it can be difficult even to discuss things like this with your own spouse because
Hmm.
they are vested
They are vested.
in the consequences. So having this outside person that you don't owe anything, you
Hmm.
don't report to, you don't have to, you can just be guided through your thinking process and challenged on the stuff that you're trying to avoid and I mean it that is really helpful and it will get you forward faster than trying to do it everything yourself or
Yes.
with someone that knows you because someone that knows you still wants to be your spouse or
Friend.
your friend or what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now I get myself started again. So you were trying to
No.
wrap up. Yeah,
I was. No, I appreciate it. This was good. I think it was a good conversation. Again, if why we did this is that if it helps someone, then amazing. If it encourages you to, to get a coach, if you're feeling that mid-career slump or early career, then yeah, a coach could probably help. But Henning was generous enough to share some of his first steps and top tips, so that's good. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, Henning. Thank you. I will put a
thank
link
you.
to your website below so that if people want to get a hold of you, is that the best way? You go to your website and
Absolutely.
awesome.
So and they can just click and book me for a no strings attached talk. Yeah.
Perfect. Yay. Thank you. With that, I will end it and yeah, we'll talk soon.